بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد أكرم المرسلين. الحمد لله نحمده ونشكره ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ به من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. إن شاء الله. we're at page 34. If you open your mushaf, and alhamdulillah, we did, hopefully inshallah, we did a great job by following the tafsir. And today we are covering ayat 211 to 219 inshallah. By then there will be 60 something ayah to the end of Surat Albaqara, which is 284 to 283 ayat. Alhamdulillah. So we will start by listening to the ayat we are covering today. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
سل بني إسرائيل كم آتيناهم من آية بينة ومن يبدل نعمة الله من بعد ما جاءته فإن الله شديد العقاب. زين للذين كفروا الحياة الدنيا ويسخرون من الذين آمنوا والذين اتقوا فوقهم يوم القيامة والله يرزق من يشاء بغير حساب. كان الناس أمة واحدة فبعث الله النبيين مبشرين ومنذرين وأنزل معهم الكتاب بالحق ليحكم بين الناس فيما اختلفوا فيه وما اختلف فيه إلا الذين أوتوه من بعد ما جاءتهم البينات بغيا بينهم فهدى الله الذين آمنوا لما اختلفوا فيه من الحق بإذنه والله يهدي من يشاء إلى صراط مستقيم. أم حسبتم أن تدخلوا الجنة ولما يأتكم مثل الذين خلوا من قبلكم مستهم البأساء والضراء وزلزلوا حتى يقول الرسول والذين آمنوا معه متى نصر الله ألا إن نصر الله قريب. يسألونك ماذا ينفقون قل ما أنفقتم من خير فللوالدين والأقربين واليتامى والمساكين وابن السبيل وما تفعلوا من خير فإن الله به عليم. كتب عليكم القتال وهو كره لكم وعسى أن تكرهوا شيئا وهو خير لكم وعسى أن تحبوا شيئا وهو شر لكم والله يعلم وأنتم لا تعلمون. يسألونك عن الشهر الحرام قتال فيه قل قتال فيه كبير وصد عن سبيل الله وكفر به والمسجد الحرام وإخراج أهله منه أكبر عند الله والفتنة أكبر من القتل ولا يزالون يقاتلونكم حتى يردوكم عن دينكم إن استطاعوا ومن يرتدد منكم عن دينه فيمت وهو كافر فأولئك حبطت أعمالهم في الدنيا والآخرة وأولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون إن الذين آمنوا والذين هاجروا وجاهدوا في سبيل الله أولئك يرجون رحمة الله والله غفور رحيم يسألونك عن الخمر والميسر قل فيهما إثم كبير ومنافع للناس وإثمهما أكبر من نفعهما ويسألونك ماذا ينفقون قل العفو كذلك يبين الله لكم الآيات لعلكم تتفكرون.
صدق الله العظيم وصدق رسوله الكريم وإنا على ذلك لمن الشاهدين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Today a lot of ayat, a lot of ahkam inshallah. We will cover more knowledge inshallah, and the deeper we go into Surat Albaqara, we see that it has a lifestyle foundations. So very important ayat, mashallah, and it has a lot of fiqh. So the first ayah is saying, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم سل بني إسرائيل كم آتيناهم من آية بينة ومن يبدل نعمة الله من بعد ما جاءت فإن الله شديد العقاب. So again, Allah Azza wa Jal now, for many pages now, Allah didn't mention Bani Israel, and now Allah brought us back to the beginning of the surah, just reminding us by a story of them, reminding us of also what we have to do. So ask Bani Israel, ask the children of Israel, and Israel is Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salam. So those are his descendants. كم آتيناهم من آية, and the most significant prophet that was mentioned in affiliation with Bani Israel was Sayyidina Musa. So ask the children of Israel, كم آتيناهم من آية بينة, how many clear ayah, how many clear verse and how many clear signs we gave them, and yet they did not believe. And what are those bayinat, if we may remember? Allah gave them al-man was-salwa as the highest level of food. Allah showed them one of the ayat, one of the signs, that Sayyidina Musa, he took his hand out of his pocket and it turned white, and then his stick turned into a snake, and more and more. So a lot of ayat, bayinat, that would lead them to Allah Azza wa Jal, and to believe in Allah Azza wa Jal, the Creator. And then Allah is saying, وَمَن يُبَدِّلْ نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ. So whoever would exchange the bounty of Allah, and Allah here is mentioning his bounty, of course, is al-Iman. This is the highest of the bounties. And ni'mata here is in singular, not in plural, but usually this singular, when we talk about ni'mah, the singular ni'mah contains many bounties in it. So whoever would trades Allah's favor after receiving it, and then what's going to happen? Then Allah Azza wa Jal is severe in punishment. This is very scary ending to the ayah. So because we know in many ayat in the Quran, Allah would say, فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. Indeed, Allah is the most merciful and forgiving. But here it's like exactly the opposite. Indeed, Allah is severe in punishment. So, and that would take us, of course, again, this is a lesson to us, not only talking to them. That's why Allah put it in the Quran, just for us to learn and to not to do the same. This Allah Azza wa Jal, who is very merciful, the ultimate mercy is coming from Him. The ultimate forgiveness is coming for Him. Um, there are some actions, if we do it, it will turn to the extreme opposite, which is severe punishment, Ya Latif. So we always have to bring those two meanings together. I do remember we had a neighbor, and we were talking about hijab. She's an old lady. She's not my age. I was teenager back then. But when we were talking about hijab, and she didn't wear hijab all of her life. She was nice, and she was open to discussion. So I was part of it. And she kept saying that in Allah Ghafurun Rahim, Allah will forgive me, inshallah, Allah. And and then everyone insists that no, it's you have to wear hijab. And then she said, Allah is not gonna leave everything and just think about my hair, Ya Latif. And then, subhanallah, I told her one of the ayat that ends with "Inna Allah Shadidul Iqab," and that really shifts her thinking. That really took her to another level, and she started thinking about hijab. It's of course it's anything is related to iman. So hijab is an action that we do out of love and out of faith, because we believe in Allah, and we are sure that this farida is sent from Allah, and that's why we put it, we wear it, yani. And I do remember when one lady said, we are not idiot to just keep wearing those hijabs on top of our heads, and it's so hot and everybody is discriminating us and looking at us weirdly, but we're doing that because Allah said so. So that's why we're doing it. And alhamdulillah for this bounty. So of course the hijab is one example. We have all other examples of ibadah, of worshipping Allah Azza wa Jal, and obeying Allah Azza wa Jal. So moving to the next ayah, let me check here if I usually people would react to Allah Azza wa Jal's bounties in one of the three ways, or Allah Azza wa Jal also would, based on our reaction, Allah also demand how our fate is going to be. So the scholars are saying we either Allah will bring us to Him in one of the three ways. The first way is al-imtinan. Al-imtinan is gratefulness, gratitude to Allah Azza wa Jal. So we either come close to Allah by thanking Him and being happy about the grace that He bestowed upon us. Or the second way is بسلاسل الامتحان. So the first one is al-imtinan, the second one سلاسل الامتحان, and سلاسل الامتحان is the chains of test and tribulations. So if we don't obey or follow Allah's orders with the first method by being grateful, then Allah Azza wa Jal may bring us to Him with tests, a test after test after test. And most of the people are like that. That's how the scholars are saying. And every single person has a chronology of tests. And if they don't pass it, they have to repeat it. So as if like you are studying your high school, you pass the exam, then okay, go to the higher level. Now you're ready to go to college. If you did not pass it, and then you have to repeat it, repeat the exact same test, subhanallah. So it's very important to know how, and some people, after they pass the test, they become very grateful, although they will be receiving a higher level test later on. And if gratitude didn't work, if tribulations didn't work, then Ya Latif, Allah is going to, and based on what is the saying of the scholars, and then Allah Azza wa Jal would leave them to an-niran. An-niran is the fire of the hell. يعني so الامتنان or سلاسل الامتحان or النيران. Inshallah we would be from the very first one, but it is يعني very common that we are regular people, and we will be, inshallah, if we are good people, we will be between al-imtinan and al-imtihan, between gratitude and test. Next ayah is saying زين للذين كفروا الحياة الدنيا ويسخرون من الذين آمنوا والذين اتقوا فوقهم يوم القيامة والله يرزق من يشاء بغير حساب. So the life here, Allah now is talking about الذين كفروا, not talking about الناس. The word زينا, it is a verb that is referring to the ornament of the life. So the life is full of ornaments, and it became like flashy and lovable to people. This exact same verb, Allah used it, but He used it for the entire humanity. زُيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ حُبُّ الشَّهَوَاتِ مِنَا. So, but here Allah is not talking about الناس, about the entire humanity. Allah is talking now about الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. So let's say why this is here different. Allah made this hayat dunya, this dunya beautiful in the eyes of those who, the disbelievers, and so they are very busy with its ornament, and they are very busy enjoying it. Not only that, in fact, beside that, يَسْخَرُونَ مِنَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, and they mock the believers, and that's what we call in our days bullying. So this mocking was like something not new. All of the believers would be subject to be mocked. So when you tell me what should I do, it's what should you do? You just make ihtisab to Allah Azza wa Jalla and say Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel and keep going. And it's very important that we keep going. That does not discourage us and or make us like want to change our style of life or try to imitate those الذين كفروا in their loving to dunya. So we would be safe from their mocking. This is not work. Does not work. So وَيَسْخَرُونَ مِنَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, they mock the believers, and now Allah is giving us like which one is better. Allah is saying وَالَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا فَوْقَهُمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ, those who fear Allah Azza wa Jal and who are mindful about Allah Azza wa Jal, mindful of Allah, they are above in status and above in rank than those disbelievers. So isn't it enough? Because like no matter how long we live, our life is eventually short, and we live on this earth with everything we do, with all of the feelings, good, bad, and ugly, with all of the achievements, with all of the failures, with all of the tests. It is temporary life. We're not staying here forever. So we're just visitors. Yes, this visit is going to take like 70, 80 years probably, but that is nothing if we compare it to the day of judgment, to Al-Jannah, staying forever in Jannah. So Allah Azza wa Jal is taking that into account, that the state and the rank of الَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا, those who fear Allah Azza wa Jal, at the day of judgment, يوم القيامة. So here, the الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, they're only thinking about the dunya. But we are thinking about Yawm al-Qiyamah, inshallah. So Allah is making our heart tranquil and give us that security and safety that we will be, inshallah, at the day of judgment above them. And meaning above them, we know that hellfire is down, and we know that Jannah is up. It's elevating. So above here, فوقهم, means, inshallah, we are better. وَاللَّهُ يَرْزُقُ مَنْ يَشَاءُ بِغَيْرِ حِسَابٍ, and Allah provides and gives that provision to whomever He wants, to whomever He wills, without any accountability. بِغَيْرِ حِسَاب, without like limits. And al-hisab is used for math in Arabic. So when you want to say they have a math class, you would say he has dars hisab. So there will be like, inshallah, yani Allah will not be um, yani asking us about every single sin that we've done through our own life. May yani Allah may, as Sayyida Aisha, she said, Ya Rasulullah, yani tell me about the punishment at the day of judgment. So she was fearing that, and she was thinking about that. And then Rasulullah just gave her one simple example. He said, "Man nuqisha al-hisab faqad udhib." Whoever would be standing between the hands of Allah to discuss his hisab, to discuss his hasanat and sayyi'at, that alone is azab. So he might end up to Jannah. But the asking, the questioning from Allah to us and going through every deed that we've done, that alone is a punishment, Ya Latif. So inshallah, we are among those who are, Allah would provide for them at the day of judgment without limit. And the next ayah, كان الناس أمة واحدة فبعث الله النبيين مبشرين ومنذرين وأنزل معهم الكتاب بالحق ليحكم بين الناس فيما اختلفوا فيه. So here, فيما اختلفوا فيه. So people, that is like Allah is talking about like collectively about people that cover the entire humanity. They used to be one community, one nation. Then Allah Azza wa Jal sent to them, just like they can't live without orders from Allah, without commands from Allah. Like Allah is, Allah created us and didn't leave us just to discover. Allah sent us مبشرين ومنذرين, prophets, and Nabiyeen are prophets and messengers, and مبشرين, they're delivering good news, and منذرين, they are warning us. So prophets have two missions. They would give you the bushra of glad tidings, and also at the same time they warn you. This is the mission of an-Nabiyyin. And that is, subhanallah, very fair, because Allah is clarifying clarifying the way to Jannah, how we're gonna reach there. It is unseen. We are unable to see it. So like when you open your TV to, let's say, like a travel channel, and there is a program about, let's say, Italy, for an example, and you see the water, the mountains, you see the beauty of the nature that Allah created. You want to go there, so you plan to go there because you've seen something in both of your eyes, and you know that it is existing, and people are going there always and coming back and telling their like testimony about the beauty, about the food, whatever it is. What about Al-Jannah? So Al-Jannah, we only hear about it. We only read what is in the Quran and what the Prophet ﷺ said about it. So we dream to be there, of course, but do we have like a clear vision about it? Not necessarily. Because like when both of us, let's say me and you, read the hadith of Rasulullah describing Jannah, I have my imagination and you have your imagination, and each one of us may envision it in a different way, but it's still not tangible for us that we can go and visit and check it and take pictures, and it's not. So it's like in the world of the unseen. But Allah Azza wa Jal, just to make it, to close that idea to our minds and to make it lovable and to make us work for it so we can stay there forever, Allah sends us prophets to explain for us. So either if we are good, so he would inshallah give us the glad tiding, and if la samahallah we are going astray, he would warn us and guide us to come back to the right path. We will talk about the right path today. This is ayah, subhanallah, it ends with the right path. So, and the mission of those Nabiyyin, Allah sent with them the kitab. Al-kitab بالحق. That's what Allah is saying. Al-Haq is the truth. So Allah sent with them the book or any divine book that Allah have sent with any of the of his prophets, but specifically for us it is Al-Quran. And for now, after Sayyidina Muhammad is Khatamul Anbiya, the end of Al-Anbiya is Al-Quran. Al-Quran is the full manual for our life. It has thus the catalog of like how Allah created us, why he created us, what should we do. Allah mentioned everything in it. Even our diet was mentioned in it. Even like our enjoyment, our feelings, our sadness, our happiness, our weak moments, our turning point moments, everything, we have a guide in it. And how if we want to live happily in this dunya, and we want to secure our akhirah, everything was mentioned in the kitab. The same thing is for the previous nations before us. So Allah didn't leave his people without guidance. Allah sent not only kitab, yani Allah would have sent the kitab with malaika and like throw it papers from the sky or anywhere. No, Allah sent a teacher to teach you the kitab as well. So not only the kitab, a kitab and teacher, full service, subhanallah. Rasulullah is our teacher. And among the mission of those prophets is not only to explain the book, and also this book is to judge between people. And Rasulullah also, the messengers are to make sure that people are living happily and fair and just life. And فيما اختلفوا فيه, because some people, they received the book and they started looking at the things, the differences that would create disputes. So Allah immediately sent us the explainer, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And Allah now is telling us who are those who try to find differences in the ayat, and who are those who started to dispute some of those like ayat. وما اختلف فيه إلا الذين أوتوه من بعد ما جاءتهم البينات. And none of them have had those arguments about the book. They didn't have it until Allah Azza wa Jal have sent them the bayinat, the clear evidence. So after receiving the clear evidence, they started to argue about the book. Here اختلف and اختلفوا, this here اختلفوا and this here اختلف. It's about like the argument they're having about the book, and that they are not accepting this truth in the book. And then Allah is explaining to us why they may do that. Why anybody would discuss the ayat of Allah and argue about it. Allah said بغيا بينهم. And al-baghi is something very, let me check here, it has it was explained in few meanings. It's aggression, of course, al-baghi. It's jealousy, and it's deviation. That is the baghi, and it is like being greedy about what others have. So, subhanallah, that is al-baghi. So, and that is the reason for their argument about al-kitab. And then Allah is saying, what is the result after all of this dispute, and after Allah sent the kitab? Allah guided فَهَدَى اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لِمَا اخْتَلَفُوا فِيهِ مِنَ الْحَقِّ بِإِذْنِهِ. So some of them argued to understand or asked questions to understand, and other argued for the sake of the argument only and for the sake of the dispute. For those who were argued in regard of like knowledge, seeking more knowledge and understanding, Allah is guiding them to the truth inside of this book. لما اختلفوا فيه من الحق بإذنه, by his permission. Wallahi, that is very scary. Our iman, the iman that we have in our hearts, without his permission, it wouldn't enter our heart. It may enter, la samahallah, and for many people, they changed after the iman were solid. So many people were very committed. They used to have their own halaqat, attend their halaqa, they have jalsa dhikr. And then what happened? Things changed and they changed. So may Allah Azza wa Jal fix our feet on the Sirat al-Mustaqim, fix our life, make us like very strong while taking this path. We don't change. Ya Allah, yani, keep us steadfast on this path. And then Allah is saying, Wallahu yahdi man yasha'u ila sirat al-mustaqim. So Allah would guide whomever He wants, whomever He will, to as-sirat al-mustaqim. Some modern tafasir would say Allahu yahdi man yasha, and this He wills is not about Allah. So see here, He with the capital letter is referring to Allah Azza wa Jal. So the uppercase here is about Allah Azza wa Jal. Some of the modern tafasir, they say a person, if he wants, he would follow the guidance. But if he doesn't want, so the willing here is Allahu A'lam. I like to take traditional tafsir is the base, and then we check other tafasir. But seriously, here Allah is saying permission, by His permission, and then Wallahu yahdi man yasha. Inshallah, Allah would have us among those whom He chose for them al-hidayah. Al-sirat al-mustaqim is very important. How do I pass al-sirat al-mustaqim or stay on al-sirat al-mustaqim for all of my life? A few tips here. The first one, that you always supplicate to Allah to keep you on the sirat al-mustaqim. This is Ya Allah, guide me and keep me steadfast on it. So al-sirat al-mustaqim, not only in the akhirah, we should be living on the sirat al-mustaqim. And because this style of life is very important, the word al-sirat al-mustaqim was mentioned in Al-Fatiha, that we repeat at least 17 times a day in our salawat. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم. So the straight path. And then also to find someone who is following this straight path, so we can stick to them. Because if we choose someone else, they will take us astray with them. We want to be with good people, so they would help us to stay on as-sirat al-mustaqim. Going back again to the good and pious friends. And also learn. So the knowledge would keep us on as-sirat al-mustaqim. So many people are they don't know. They're not on the sirat al-mustaqim because they don't know. And if you tell them you should come and learn, you should attend some halaqat so you learn, they don't want to learn. They don't want to learn and they don't know. They tell you, okay, I didn't know it's haram, but they've done it because it's haram and they didn't know. For those people, they will be held accountable for not knowing, because knowledge is all around. Masajids are all around. Institutes of knowledge, of Islamic knowledge are all around. So for those people, they will be held accountable, unless like it was a period in their lives and then they figured out, oh, I have to know. Then they start to seek knowledge. Then Allah Azza wa Jal would forgive their shortcomings. That was before their efforts to know. So with this era that we live in, it's very difficult just to stay on the Sirat al-Mustaqim, because we see people literally like either worshiping money or worshiping, that's the only focus. And when it is the only focus and they crowding people around it, it is a worshiping. So at certain times they were like women empowerment, women rights, women are not, look at the women in the Muslim countries, women, it was like almost they worshipped women. Now with the transgender issue, they are like all of the aggression is coming on the shoulders of the women. So it's subhanAllah, how come it was just like yesterday, same people were talking about the rights of the women, and now what? So it's really scary. Some people worship fame, and they just want to be famous, and they would just want to be on trends, and they just want to be on videos where everybody is looking at it, and how many views and how many likes and how many comments and how many shares. That's all kind of worshiping. At certain time they started to worship the human being themselves, and like looking subhanallah when yani, looking at just that character Superman, that Superman can heal people, can bring them to life, can fix their life, can do anything. Astaghfirullah al-Azim. That is all the mission of Allah. Yani. We don't have that kind of miracles. It was like only for Anbiya, not for us. So if you want Allah, you would. I do remember, like my husband used in his like early years in America, he used to go for da'wah, and they talked to one Palestinian guy, and he used to work at restaurant, and they talked to him about Allah and how to come close to Allah. They invited him to one of the halaqat and stuff, and then he simply said subhanallah, because at that time communism was like dominating many of the Muslim countries, and he just said, I don't want Allah, I want Jerusalem, because he was Palestinian, and he was from Jerusalem, and he was like kicked out of his country. So yani, you will never be able to get Jerusalem without Allah, without going back to Allah. And that applies to everything in our life. Next آية إن شاء الله. أم حسبتم أن تدخلوا الجنة ولما يأتكم مثل الذين خلوا من قبلكم مستهم البأساء والضراء وزلزلوا حتى يقول الرسول والذين آمنوا معه متى نصر الله ألا إن نصر الله قريب. So this ayah was mentioned when يعني was revealed after the not after, during the trench battle. So Allah Azza wa Jal is saying, do you think that you will enter paradise without being tested? Impossible. Impossible. In different ayah in Surah, Allah said, أحسب الناس أن يقولوا آمنا وهم لا يفتنون. Do you think that people would say we believed without any test? Believe means test. It's a high status. It doesn't come without. Can you get your PhD without test? No way. So entering paradise is even higher in status than the PhD. So there must be a test. And this is not only for us. Allah is saying, مثل الذين خلوا من قبلكم, the people who were like before you, who lived before you. مستهم البأساء والضراء. They were touched by adversity and by hardship. Subhanallah. So there is no life. Allah mentioned in the Quran, وَنَقْصًا فِي الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ. There will be not hardship or harm and loss of wealth, of souls, of provision. Yani it's this life is all about being tested. So there will be adversities, there will be hardship. And look here what happened. This exact word is yani reflecting what happened in the trench battle. وَزُلْزِلُوا. One of the tafasir for the word zalzala means yani cause an earthquake. الزلزال is an earthquake. And you can read that in Surat Al-Zalzala, إِذَا زُلْزِلَتِ الْأَرْضُ زِلْزَالَهَا. So zal means slip. And when the same letters are repeated in the same word, it means that this is happening over and over. But zala, it's like when this action is happening again, the slipping is happening. The first time it happened in one direction, the second time is happening in the opposite direction. And that is, subhanallah, is causing a huge shake to the person who is experiencing that. So Sahaba at the trench battle, they experienced tremendous amount of fear. So that's how they felt. They felt it wasn't an actual zilzal. It wasn't an actual earthquake. But that was their feeling, to the point that Rasulullah wanted to send somebody to bring some news from close by the non-believers, and all of them apologized. And then at the end, he had to choose one of them, giving him a command. And يعني subhanallah, that was, he chose Hudhayfa ibn al-Yaman, Allah yarda anhu. And Hudhayfa, alhamdulillah, he did it. And he said, when he offered that, he asked them who would take this mission. وَلَهُ الْجَنَّةِ, and he guaranteed al-Jannah for them. And none of them replied. They were extremely scared at that day. So there was wind, there was people waiting for them to kill them, although they did their best, and they dig the trench, and they made it, tried to make it secured as much as possible. And then حتى يقول الرسول, not only الذين آمنوا, الرسول, the messenger, would say, and the believers with him would say, would ask Allah Azza wa Jal, when is the victory of Allah? متى نصر الله? Ya Allah. And then Allah would tell them, Inna Nasr Allahi qareeb, the victory is very close to you. So yes, there will be adversity, there will be hardship, there will be zilzal, an earthquake, circumstances that may shake us. But if we bear patience, then the victory is very close by, subhanallah. Let me check here. Okay, so there are always like the tribulations, this ba'sa and darra, this adversity and hardship. There was always a wisdom behind it. So the first wisdom is like Allah Azza wa Jal is raising people who are ready to build a state of Islam. The state of Islam in their hearts, in their homes, in their countries, in their societies. So without being under that tremendous amount of pressure, we won't be able to bear the pressure of building a pious community. So this is number one. That means التمكين في الأرض. التمكين يعني Allah Azza wa Jal would make us strong in this earth. Of course, that would help us also deliver our amana that Allah Azza wa Jal have gave us. So we live to deliver this amana, and being Khalifa, being the Caliph of Allah Azza wa Jal on this earth. The second thing is to forgive our sins. So all of that would help forgiving our sins and bring us back, inshallah, to start from zero on clean records. The third thing is also, it's a time when we have those adversities and hardship, that is a pausing time for us. We pause and we start thinking about our own deeds. So we start to hold ourselves accountable, and we start to judge ourselves and think about our pros and cons and what we should fix. This is also very important. Also, the wisdom behind tribulations and adversities is to take the showing off of our hearts, because we may be doing very good, but then the arrogance come close by, and little by little it will take wash out our deeds. So pausing when we have any adversity, it's the time to pause and think about calculate again our goods and bads. And one more wisdom behind the tribulations, which is Allah Azza wa Jal would check people who are good and who are bad. It's very important, as if it's the scale here. And for those who are maintaining patience through the adversity and hardship, those are the good people. And the vice versa, those who don't bear patience during the adversities, they lose their cards with Allah Azza wa Jal. So I see something else here. Mm. So among those, like adversities could be very like very extremely personal. Could be a wife with a bad husband who is mistreating her and dealing with her with يعني, in a harsh and cruel way. It could be like a father, like we've seen in Syria many pious youth with like fathers who only believe in communism. So in fact, they don't believe in Allah. And of course, their life was very difficult. The other day, I saw a video for an 80 years old man, very famous man in the Muslim countries. He was at the age of 80, he was talking about a toy that his father never يعني, brought to them. So in fact, he was talking how his father was extremely stingy, and he only offered to them the necessities, although he had a lot of money. So subhanallah, يعني, all of that is could be one of the tribulations, and living such a life not easy to. There are some destinies that you cannot change. Really, you cannot change your father, you cannot change your mother, sometimes you cannot change your husband. Also, you are tied to other commitments through the marriage, and so on. Yani, all of that could be tribulations. It could be a disease that Allah Azza wa Jal chose you to have, and then you have your battle with doctors and medications and try and error and all of that. So adversity could be anything, Ya Latif. Allah Azza wa Jal protect us and make us, inshallah, among those who pass. Now, from this ayah and going on, we will notice the word يسألونك, and they ask you. So we will have 3 of those ayat. And whenever you see يسألونك, that means there is a hukm shara'i, there is a legislation behind it. So they are asking about something, and now we will see the answer from Allah Azza wa Jal. A lot of fiqh issues. We will not go into details because, like, 4 schools of fiqh, mashallah, is very, very detailed. And you can, if whatever you have interest in, then you can go to fiqh and read it. But we will say, of course, the general ahkam. So they are now here asking you, they're asking you what to spend. ماذا ينفقون؟ قل ما أنفقتم من خير فللوالدين. Now Allah is telling them, if you want to spend of the khair that Allah gave you, and khair here is referring to money. Al khair is the goodness, is referring to money. So again, money means khair if we use it in the right manner. So Allah is starting with, we have like first al-walidain, number 1, parents, then al-aqrabin, those who are relatives to you, number 3, orphans, number 4, needy, 5, ibn sabil, the person who is passing by and he has no means left. And then Allah saying, وَمَا تَفْعَلُوا مِنْ خَيْرٍ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ بِهِ عَلِيمٌ. And every bit of khair you do, Allah indeed knows it. Okay, what is, if Allah knows it? If Allah knows it, Allah will reward you for it. So it's not like you're doing the homework of yourself and your friend, and then the teacher doesn't know, so she keeps like rewarding your friend. No, Allah knows. Even if nobody paid attention, even if you did not get any credit, and that's supposed not to happen in this dunya, Allah is counting everything. Allah knows. So let's go about this here chronology. First, so the first wajib upon us is the parents. So if your parents are, especially if they are poor. So some parents are not poor, but if you are wealthy, you better start look for their needs. You may be probably not necessarily spending if they are wealthy. You might be facilitating, and that's alone is very high in the eye of Allah. And that's why Allah started with al-walidain. So we start with the parents. Parents always have the priority. It was also like one of those examples that if your parents are poor, so you have to make sure they have shelter, they have food, they have drink, they have medications, they can see doctors. That's all are your responsibility, especially if you have, I'm not going to say wealthy, if you have a little bit of extra money. طيب. And if God forbid يعني the mother dies, and then and your father is poor, you have also to facilitate a marriage, another marriage for him, so you have to pay for that marriage expenses. طيب, that is the parents. Next we're going to al-aqrabin. يعني that, why we're giving this example, I'm just like telling you to what extent it should go. Then al-aqrabin, relatives. And al-aqrabin, of course, we start with the closest people, which is like, go check on your sister. So, and a brother may say, okay, my sister is married and he is responsible for her. Well, if you have an extra money, you still have to check on your sister. Instead of giving your money to a stranger poor, you have to check on your sister first and check after her needs. That is extremely important. And subhanallah, wallahi, it was a huge story in Syria. He is a very generous man. And any like non-profit organization in Damascus that they have any need, sometimes they call him, they say we have like, we need 50 million lira, yani the Syrian pound, to cover the expenses for this month. He would just simply come and give it willingly, happily. And one day there was one case coming to receive, to fill her application. So she receives financial support, which they give every month to needy. And when she filled the application, they figured out that she has the same last name of that wealthy man who donates. So they asked her, are you related to this person? She said, he's my brother. So it was such a slander, subhanallah. How come you don't check on your own sister? You're giving all of this money to others, and your own sister is in need. It's yani Allah Azza wa Jal is not happy, of course, because yes, she is married and her husband is responsible for her, but her husband has little means, so you have to check on her. If she lives with you, she has no husband, she is your the responsibility of her brother or her even yani sister who is wealthy to look after their needs, subhanallah. So al-aqrabin, after siblings, you can go to your aunts and uncles and so on. Then who comes after is orphans, al-yatama. Those are spending on al-yatama is very highly rewarded. After al-yatama comes al-masakin. Those are the needies, and al-miskin is someone who has something, but it is very little, and he is very shy to come out and ask for it. So al-masakin, Allah didn't say al-fuqara here, Allah said al-masakin, and there's a slight difference between al-fuqara and al-masakin. So al-masakin, probably they have maskan, they have shelter, but they don't have enough to eat and have proper clothing. So those are al-masakin. And then ibn al-sabil. And ibn al-sabil, you may say, oh, he is very wealthy, his parents are like millionaires, blah, blah, blah. Well, if he is traveling and he's left out of financial means, we should give him among the money of sadaqat and different ayat and the money from the money of az-zakah. So it applies on him, Ibn Sabil. So from that we take sometimes like if those asylum seekers, and we know that they used to live a very wealthy, lavish, sometimes life in their countries, but when they come here, they are totally like left out of means. So that also I sometimes, because of the situations and the benefits from the government that the refugee or the asylum seeker receive, of course asylum seeker does not receive any money. from the government, and he's not applicable to any program, at least here in Virginia. So that's why it's we give them priority over refugees in some of the funds. So this is here the chronology, but the bottom line is al-infaq. If you have a wealth and you don't spend it, then Allah Azza wa Jal will hold you accountable, because Allah is giving us this wealth. Allah wants us to be wealthy, by the way. Allah wants us to have that kind of khair, but this khair will turn into shar if we save the money and we decided not to give anybody from it. It's good, of course, to have some saving as a safety cushion in case of emergency, but like if we don't have the habit of giving, wallahi, al-mashayikh are saying you should give every day. Just make it habit. After your salah, even if you give $1 or $2, just at least make it a daily habit that you give sadaqah, and you teach that to your children, and people around are in dire need for your sadaqat. And I'm telling you, wallahi, from an experience, in dire need for your zakah, in dire need for your sadaqat, and they are like living out of it. Some of them have disabilities, some of them like they just freshly new and they don't know how to speak a word of English, and some of them are abroad, and they having a lot of problems and issues, and our little money may save many problems for them, subhanallah. And never underestimate what you're giving, never. Of course, if you can give more, it has more barakah. But if that's what you have and that's what you can give, Allah will put barakah in it, no matter what. Going to the next ayah. كتب عليكم القتال وهو كره لكم وعسى أن تكرهوا شيئا وهو خير لكم. So Allah Azza wa Jal have obligated fighting upon you. That's what Allah is saying. And this is here when Allah made a jihad and fighting the enemies farida. So this is an obligation now. It became an obligation, and Allah is saying وَهُوَ كُرْهٌ لَكُمْ, and you hate it. Al-kurh with dhamma here. Do you see this here, kurh? And you see the dhamma on top of the letter kaf. It means that something very hard to do, and to the point that because it's very hard, you hate it. And subhanallah, we have this feeling on smaller scales sometimes just trying to learn about a new server on the computer, or like it's very like tough, and that is such a kurh. That's how we feel. But there are more kurh. Can you imagine why they hate fighting? Because it has wounds, blood, injuries, loss of souls. Of course they hate it, and like a lot of violence in it. But in order to defend yourself, defend your deen, Allah obligated that upon you. So you have to be ready for that. And then Allah is saying, وَعَسَىٰ أَن تَكْرَهُ شَيْئًا. You may hate something really bad, and then Allah puts the khair in it. You can come and find all of the khair in it. So perhaps you dislike, it's not only dislike, al-karahiyah is kurh, it's a higher scale than dislike, it's hate. So perhaps you hate something which is good for you and like something which is bad for you. Allah knows, and you do not know. So if you like something, then Allah, it turns to be khair. I'm sorry, you hate something, then it turns to be khair, and then you like something and it turns to be shar. Wallahi, if you pause and think, you will find many examples in your life like that. Now, another question here. يسألونك, they're asking you عن الشهر الحرام, about the sacred month. قتال فيه. What if a fighting happened in the sacred month? Of course, in sacred month, it is totally haram to have fighting in especially in those sacred months. So قل قتال فيه كبير, and this ayah was revealed for a reason, because like a fighting happened, Muslims did not create it. They were subject to simply defend themselves after an ambush happened to them, and they were not sure whether this is Jamada al-Thaniya, end of Jamada al-Thaniya, or beginning of Rajab. So when they were attacked, they defended themselves, and in result, there was one person killed and two people captivated. So, and then the disbelievers, they started to say, look, you are killing people in the sacred month. Although the disbelievers, they used to play with the sacred month, and they used to change it and alter it and choose other months than those fixed months from Allah Azza wa Jal. Yet they found it a good way to attack Muslims verbally. So, and now Allah Azza wa Jal is saying, yes, fighting during the sacred month is huge, and it is something like big that Allah look at as a big sin. But صد عن سبيل الله وكفر به والمسجد الحرام, so hindering people from the path of Allah Azza wa Jal, and the disbelief, والمسجد الحرام, and attacking Muslims in the haram around the Kaaba, and kicking the people of al-haram away from their own country. All of that is bigger in the scale of Allah. So yes, killing is very big in the scale of Allah, but all of the other stuff, let's read the translation here. So, but hindering others from the path of Allah, rejecting Him, that is the disbelief, kufrun bih, and expelling the worshippers from the sacred mosque is a greater sin in the sight of Allah. Subhanallah. So it is very important to understand that Muslim would never violate those Sahaba would never violate those Ashhur al-Hurum unless they had to. And if they were attacked, and they only reacted to that. So, and then Allah Azza wa Jal is saying, وَلَا يَزَالُونَ يُقَاتِلُونَكُمْ حَتَّى يَرُدُّوكُمْ عَنْ دِينِكُمْ, and they will keep fighting you until they turn you back from your deen. وَمَنْ يَرْتَدِدْ مِنْكُمْ عَنْ دِينِهِ, whoever would leave his deen, فَيَمُتْ وَهُوَ كَافِرٌ, and then he dies on disbelief, those are حبطت أعمالهم. And the word حبطت is subhanallah, very scary. So they had a lot of deeds, but all of it went down to trash, simply. That is حبطة. حبطت أعمالهم, not only in this dunya, in the dunya and the akhirah. And they are indeed the owners or the companions of Jahannam. They will be living there forever. Ya Latif. فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ بِهِ عَلِيمٌ. And here, let me check if I have missed anything. طيب, inshallah. Let's move to the next ayah. We still have 3 or 2 more ayat to go, inshallah. And inna alladhina amanu walladhina hajaru. So Allah mentioned in this ayah that they were kicked from their homes. They were kicked from the Masjid al-Haram. They were like not asked to leave, but like they were forced to leave. And then that's why Allah now is mentioning al-hijrah. Inna alladhina amanu والذين هاجروا وجاهدوا في سبيل الله أولئك يرجون رحمة الله والله غفور رحيم. Indeed, those who believed and who emigrated and who struggled for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, what they need, أولئك يرجون رحمة الله. They've done all of that, and they went through all of those hardships because their iman was such a difficulty. It's unlike our iman nowadays. Now, if we are like in the supermarket, grocery store, buying something, and somebody give us that weird look, we say, oh, we are like discriminated, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. Just like look at what happened to the Prophet and his companions from their own people. So their faith cost them a lot. And then they immigrated, and they did not immigrate just for like the sake of having better job there, like most of us do. We have better opportunities, so we have some opportunities in our homeland, but we have better opportunities overseas, so we did hijrah. No, they were forced to leave. So the circumstances was all totally not good, and then they struggled. A jihad here, it comes not only for fighting the enemies. No, it's the struggle in life is jihad. So, and they could take all of that for the sake of Allah. Yani hijrah alone, if we talk about it, it is so intense, subhanallah, because the results of al-hijrah, it lasted for like over 10 years. They were suffering financial hardship and other hardship, although people of Medina were extremely welcoming them. So all of those, their faith costed them, their hijrah and their struggle in life was very costly on them. So Allah is saying, those yarjuna rahmat Allah, with all of this hardship, very intense, and then very nice feeling, very smooth and gentle feeling. They yarjuna, they hope Allah's mercy. And then indeed Allah is the most forgiving and the most merciful. Ya Allah, how Allah Azza wa Jal is very rewarding, is very generous. And the last ayah for today is another يسألونك. This is the third يسألونك, third question. And this su'al this time is about al-khamr, which is the intoxicants, and al-maysir, which is the gambling. So both of them, and as if they come, like one of them come in a result of the other, apparently, and that's why they were mentioned together. The word khamr, al-khamr, comes also from al-khimar. What is al-khimar? Al-khimar, that we cover our awra with it, our head and neck and shoulders with it. This is al-khimar. And it was named by the naming means covering, and al-khamr covers the brain. It takes the brain away. The intoxicants are that's the effect of the intoxicants, and that's why it was named al-khamr. And then al-maysir. Al-maysir is coming from al-yusr, by the way. Inna ma'al usri yusra, ease. So al-maysir, it's winning, gaining money without any effort. And of course, here we are referring specifically to the gambling. Just going through a game and based on luck, and he got that big amount of money. So that's why it's haram. Allah Azza wa Jal want our rizq to be halal and want us to put a lot of effort in it. The source is supposed to be halal. Then Allah is saying, قُلْ فِيهِمَا إِثْمٌ كَبِيرٌ. They have a huge sin, a great sin, yet they have some manafi', some benefits, but the sin is way bigger than the benefits. And some people would look here at the benefits and say, okay, but it has benefits. Well, the benefit is very, very minimum, very minimum. And even here for al-khamr, it's minimum also based on the minimum amount of it. But the qaida shar'iyya, the legislation, rule for that anything that would cause with covering your mind is haram. Meaning what? So al-khamr at the days of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it was from grape or tamar or date. Like now, any kind of khamr, any kind of thing that would take your brain away, whether it's from oat or from whatever it is haram. Whether it is drugs or weeds and stuff like that, that is all haram. That is all coming under al-khamr, because it is a kind of intoxication that would cover the mind. So that is why Allah Azza wa Jal is, and by the way, this is Allah Azza wa Jal, when he made al-khamr haram, he made it on 3 steps, as as it was said, Allah Azza wa Jal, in the matters of Iman, of faith, Allah was extremely straight to the point and immediately wanted a change. But when it came to the habits, Allah took it gently. And that's why Allah gave it here. This is the first order in regards of leaving al-khamr or making them hate al-khamr. And then the second ayah came that لا تقربوا الصلاة وأنتم سكارى, don't come nearby to salah while you are sukara, while you are like under the influence of intoxication. And then Allah Azza wa Jal gave the last ayah which made al-khamr totally, entirely haram. And for that, all of the people of Mecca, I mean al-Medina, they threw all of their khamr. So they used to have it in barrels. They opened the barrels and they bend it on the floor so it goes down the drain. Subhanallah. So Allah was very gentle with them. He gave them like the tahrim based on 3 steps. This is the first step. So there are 2 other steps. For those who tell you, you know, I was like, there was a video a few days ago I saw for a young deviated person. He said, I have my own reflection on this ayah, and he started in a very nice way, not in explaining the ayah, but the introduction was like kind of nice. And then he ended up, after 15 minutes of explaining this ayah from his understanding, that al-khamr wal-maisir are not haram. What is haram is to have money and not to spend it on happy stuff. Yani, it was, yeah, and this, subhanallah, if you look at how many comments and how many share and how many people are praising him for that understanding, it is extremely scary. And this is the very first step. There are 2 more steps. So we have to be aware of that, inshallah. So, and Allah is saying again, وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ, once more. وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ مَاذَا يُنْفِقُونَ, what should we spend? قُلِ الْعَفْوَ كَذَلِكَ. So if you are spending anything, then go ahead and spend al-afu. Al-afu is forgiving, and forgiving is such a thing that we can give. And so sometimes we are very stingy of forgiving, subhanallah. So Allah is guiding us to that. كذلك يبين الله لكم الآيات لعلكم تتفكرون. And this is how Allah makes His revelation clear to you believers, so perhaps you may reflect. Let me, before inshallah we end, I just want to make sure that I haven't left any of my comments around here, because I take the tafsir from many scholars. So when يسألونك is very important to pay attention, that those Sahaba, without asking Rasulullah, maybe probably we wouldn't be learning as much. So يسألونك, asking him, you have to know whom to ask. So if you have a question, you don't go ask your friend, or you don't go ask your colleague, or you don't go ask the salesman or whatever, unless it is related to business, of course. But if you have a question about your deen, you have to go to the right source. Allah said, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ, and ask those who knows. So you have to go to the specialist people when you ask about your deen, to the scholars who understand and who analyze and who have knowledge. So, and here they are asking Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the best of teachers. So al-iltizam, being committed to this deen, it's costly. It doesn't come like easy. If we don't pay for that, of our like time, of our efforts, of our even money, and we don't give our life for this deen and the commitment to this deen, then we will not be worthy for Jannah. So if you want to be worthy for Jannah, then we have to be paying for this precious good. It's very, subhanAllah, very precious. So, of course, when Allah mentioned in different ayat about al-khamr, and Allah said, فَاجْتَنِبُوهُ, يعني stay away from it. Don't even come close to it. Stay away from it. And that would tell us how can a person like, subhanAllah, a sheikh was saying that he had a student, he wasn't a student back then, but he came to him and he said, Ya sheikh, I'm doing a big sin. And the problem that I'm loving it. I'm not like I enjoy it. How can I leave it? How can I يعني stop doing it? And of course يعني his advice was to increase dhikr, do a lot of dhikr, because the dhikr will take shaitan out of your heart, and instead of course of shaitan there will be malaika and good deeds, so your heart would be filled with Allah, and then this way you increase the love of Allah in your heart, then all other love to other things will be decreasing. And this is a great way to stop our bad habits. Ya Latif. طيب. We have to remember that Allah have said إن الله اشترى من المؤمنين أنفسهم وأموالهم بأن لهم الجنة. So Allah have like bought, اشترى, Allah bought from you your money and your souls. For what? What is in return? So when they are buying, there must be a good something in return, that you have al-Jannah. So you give your life to Allah, devote it to Allah. And you give your money to Allah, you devote the money to Allah. And then Allah Azza wa Jal will guarantee Al-Jannah for you. So inshallah, we will be among the people of Jannah. So being committed and steadfast on this deen has a price that we all have to pay. And if we are very stingy, it will not be like our commitment is not true. It is a fake commitment. So this is inshallah our lesson for today. Don't think the commitment means like you will be comfortable. You have to get off your way to stay يعني committed to this deen. So it would be on the expense of your comfort zone, on the expense of your like leisure and happiness and fun time. And we have to get out of our way if we wanna to be on يعني to be in Jannah inshallah. So don't just take it easy. Allah Azza wa Jal created us for a reason, and our mission in this life is to build this earth with projects, with nourishment, helping each other, and living nicely in collective way, not like living nicely like on personal level only. So this is for today. اللهم لك الحمد حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا ملء السماوات والأرض وما فيهن وملء كل شيء بعد أهل الثناء والمجد. اللهم اغفر لنا وارحمنا وعافنا واعف عنا وإلى غيرك لا تكلنا. اللهم اهدنا واهد بنا ويسر الهدى إلينا، واجعل أفئدة من الناس تهوي إلينا، واجعل تجمعنا هذا تجمعا مرحوما، وتفرقنا من بعده تفرقا معصوما، ولا تجعل بيننا شقية ولا محروما. وصل اللهم وسلم وبارك على سيدنا Muhammad. Just a quick reminder, we are in Rabi' al-Awwal. Please enjoy every minute in this month. Please do a lot of efforts to come closer to Rasulullah, know him more, listen more about his life, stories from his life, so you can increase your knowledge about the Prophet. If you don't know the Prophet well, you will not be able to follow his steps. So, and most of us love him without knowing him very well. So let's increase our knowledge about our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we better follow his sunnah and revive his sunnah in our life, inshallah, and teach it to people around us. Jazakumullah khair, walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Any question? I'm ready. Let me